When night falls and the world outside gradually quiets down, that is also the moment our minds begin to speak. Thoughts, worries, regrets, and desires all crowd together in the silence between two breaths. Welcome to Lucid Dream, Sleep and Science Stories, where we explore the science of sleep and the philosophies that heal the mind. Tonight, let us embark on a quiet journey, where lessons from Stoicism will guide us to master our thoughts, emotions and perception of life, because you cannot control circumstances, but you can master yourself. And when you do, sleep becomes a peaceful journey not only of the body, but also of the soul. So as the last light of the day fades from the sky, we once again sit face to face with ourselves. No more work, no more noise, only us and the slow stream of thoughts flowing through the mind. Perhaps that is the moment philosophy visits, like an old friend, gently knocking on the door of the soul, softly asking, "Have you truly understood yourself?" And tonight's journey begins with that simple question. The ancients said, knowing yourself is the beginning of all wisdom. But to truly understand human nature is no easy task. For a human being is not just a body, a face, a voice, but a complex world of emotions, memories, and invisible fears. We live among souls in search, each carrying within them an untold story, an unhealed wound, a trembling belief. When we see someone angry, selfish, or cold, we often rush to label them mean, arrogant, heartless. Yet, as Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations, whenever you are about to find fault with someone, ask yourself the following question: what fault of mine most nearly resembles the one I am about to criticize? If we truly understood what drives a person to act as they do, we would judge them less. We do not know the story behind that gaze, nor the pain they have endured to become who they are today. We see only the tip of the iceberg, actions, words, attitudes, while beneath lies an ocean of fear, expectation, and wounds yet to be healed. Therefore the wise learn patience and cease to judge. They refrain from drawing conclusions, for they know within every person lies both darkness and light, and no one truly knows themselves completely. The human mind is like a dark room. We can only see what our small candle of awareness illuminates. Beyond that faint light stretches a vast realm of the unknown. We think we understand the world, but in truth, we merely interpret it through the limited fragments of our experience and memory. Each of us lives within our own version of reality. We do not see the world as it is, or we see the world as we are. Every prejudice, fear, memory, and upbringing casts a mist upon the mirror of perception. Thus, the wise never place absolute trust in their first emotional judgment. They know perception is a curved mirror, and sometimes what we see is but an illusion. As Seneca wrote, we suffer more often in imagination than in reality. Indeed, most of our torment, anger, or fear does not come from the world itself, but from the way we interpret the world. Once, there was an old potter living in a windy land. Each morning, he sat by his kiln, watching the wind blow through the clay pots drying in the sun. One day, a traveler came by and said, "You're truly unfortunate. With winds like these, how can your pots not break?" The old potter smiled and replied, "The wind only breaks pots that haven't been fired enough. For those that have been through the flame, the wind only makes them shine brighter." The traveler fell silent. That story is a gentle reminder. The world is not against us. Only an untrained mind sees the wind as an enemy. The wise understand, and every hardship is but a test of the inner self. And to overcome it, we must first understand human nature, beginning with our own. Understanding oneself does not come from books or lectures, but from quiet observation. When we are silent long enough, we begin to hear the true voice of the mind. We see hidden fears, buried desires, unspoken anger. That is the first step toward wisdom, for no one can master what they do not understand. Only when we recognize our own reactions can we choose differently. Marcus Aurelius, writing amidst the chaos of battle, noted, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. And this you have the power to revoke at any moment." Indeed, life does not ask, "Why did this happen to you?" It only asks, "How will you respond?" And each response is our answer to life. This is what the Stoics call inner responsibility, a profound form of maturity, where one neither blames nor judges, but looks inward to learn. When we truly understand ourselves, our hearts soften. We no longer need to win every argument nor prove we are right, because we know everyone is fighting a silent battle within. A cold person may once have been betrayed. An angry person may be deeply hurt. A strong person may be hiding their fear of being wounded. And so, instead of judging, we choose patience. We look at others through the eyes of understanding, not to excuse their behavior, but to recognize that every act has a cause. The Stoics believed no man does wrong willingly. Plato, later echoed by Stoics. Therefore, when we encounter someone cruel, let us not rush to resentment. Think instead, they are simply someone who has not yet learned what goodness is. And if we can, let us teach them, it's not with words, but through the way we live. Each day, life sends us countless questions, not in words, but in situations. When misunderstood, how will you respond? Facing failure, will you give up or stand firm? When given power, will you use it to serve or to dominate? Every small act, every quiet choice, that is our answer to the world. Even if unspoken, life remembers. Each reaction is a stroke of the brush upon the canvas of the soul. As Seneca wrote, "It is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Understand these Stoic lessons. Master your mindset, a bedtime story for grown-ups, the story of sleep. If we respond with anger, life will send us more challenges to teach us patience. If we respond with forgiveness, life will grant us peace. That is the law of consciousness. Lessons will repeat until we truly learn what they are meant to teach. To understand human nature is also to understand our own limits. We are not omnipotent, not all-knowing, not perfect. Each of us carries fragments within, and that is what makes us human. We may not know everything, cannot read minds, nor control all things, but we can choose to respond wisely. That is the greatest freedom no one can ever take away. Marcus Aurelius once said, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it. If something is beyond your control, let it be as it is. We cannot make others understand us. We can only live in a way that our peace of mind does not depend on their understanding. When we accept that limit, we are not weak, we are mature. Understanding human nature and the limits of perception does not make us pessimistic. It makes us humble. We realize that everyone is walking their own path, and we too are but travelers among countless souls learning to understand themselves. Be patient. Be observant. Stop judging. For what we see is never the complete truth. When we stop demanding the world to be perfect, when we learn to smile at what we do not yet understand, our mind finally begins to touch true peace. And then, once we have understood the nature of humankind and the limits of perception, another door in the soul quietly opens, where we face our true strength, inner power, and the way we perceive reality. When we realize that humans are not all-knowing, that our perception is limited and distorted by our own experiences, a natural question arises. If we cannot control the world, what can we control? Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher emperor of Rome, once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. A short sentence. Yet it contains an entire universe of freedom. Each day, we face countless things. A word that hurts us, a rejection that disappoints us, a failed plan, a trusted person who turns away. We react with anger, sadness, or pain, as if those things are happening to us. But in truth, what causes our pain is not the event itself, but the way we perceive the event. One person may feel humiliated by criticism. Another may smile, seeing it as a chance to understand themselves better. The same situation, two minds, two worlds. The outer world is a mirror. If our mind is turbulent, the reflection is distorted. If our mind is calm, we see the true nature of things. People spend their lives chasing happiness as if it were a lost object somewhere out there. In a person, a job, a house, or a title. But Stoic philosophy whispers, happiness is not having what you want, but wanting what you have. Happiness does not reside in things, but in the way the mind perceives those things. A person may live in a palace yet be restless, while another may sleep beneath a humble roof and feel serene. Why? Because the latter understands that peace does not depend on circumstance, but on attitude. We cannot command the world to stop raining, but we can learn to love the sound of the rain. We cannot make others change, but we can choose not to let our minds be disturbed by them. A person with inner strength is not one who never gets hurt, but one who is not ruled by their pain. There is a tiny gap, fragile as a breath, between what happens to us and how we respond. That is the space of freedom. In that moment, we can choose anger or calm, hurt or understanding, retaliation or forgiveness. Those unaware of this space live as if controlled, reacting by instinct like a leaf blown by the wind. But those who can pause, who can observe their anger, fear, and pain the moment it arises, they are cultivating inner strength. Seneca once taught his students, "No one can insult you without your consent." It is not arrogance, it is the truth of a self-disciplined mind. No one can touch the peace within us unless we open the door and let them in. There is an old anecdote. After a great victory, a Roman general rode proudly through the streets amidst the cheers of the crowd. Beside him, his servant whispered, "Remember, you are only a man." The general scoffed, "I know, but how can I not feel proud when the people cheer for me?" The servant replied, "Tomorrow, when the cheering stops, will you still feel proud?" The general fell silent. Such is inner strength. It is not allowing our hearts to depend on praise or blame, for both pass like the wind. Only those who master their emotions can walk through the heights of glory or the depths of failure without losing themselves. The world is neither truly ugly nor beautiful. It simply is. Like water, it reflects the soul of the one who looks into it. When we are resentful, everything feels heavy. When we are grateful, the very same scene suddenly grows brighter. Stoic philosophy does not teach us to deny emotion. It teaches us to see emotion without being ruled by it. Like one who watches clouds drift across the sky, knowing that clouds are only passing forms, not the sky itself. Reality cannot truly hurt us. It is the story we tell about reality that holds that power. When betrayed, we might say, "The world is cruel." Or we might say, "I have learned who is worthy of my trust." Both statements are true, but one withers us, while the other helps us grow. One day, a farmer's only horse ran away. His neighbors came and said, "Bad luck?" The farmer simply replied, "Who knows if it's bad luck?" A few days later, the horse returned, bringing with it a herd of wild horses. The neighbors shouted with joy, "How lucky you are!" The farmer smiled again. "Who knows if it's good luck?" Soon after, his son tried to ride one of the wild horses and broke his leg. The neighbors sighed. "What misfortune?" The farmer calmly said, "Who knows if it's misfortune?" Not long after, war broke out and all the young men in the village were conscripted, except for his son, who was spared because of his broken leg. Such is life. Nothing is completely good or bad. We simply view it in a fleeting moment without seeing the whole picture. When our mind is still enough, we realize every event carries a lesson, and we only truly suffer when we resist learning it. Inner strength is not a gift. It is the result of discipline, persistence, and self-observation. The Stoics did not try to eliminate emotion. They simply learned to steer it with reason and awareness. Anger, let it become the energy for meaningful action. Sorrow, let it become a chance to understand yourself more deeply. Just as steel hardens only after the fire, the soul grows strong only through trials. And through all turbulence, what keeps us standing is not circumstance, but the core of the mind, that quiet place where we can still say, "I choose peace." Imagine this. One afternoon, someone insults you in front of a crowd. What is your natural reaction? Anger? Retaliation? The urge to defend your ego? But if you pause for just 1 second, in that tiny gap between stimulus and response, you realize the anger doesn't come from their words, but from the way you interpret those words as capable of hurting you. Another person might hear the same insult, yet only smile and walk away, not because they are weak, but because they are free from the control of others, free from automatic reaction, free from the ego that constantly seeks validation. In that moment, when you choose silence instead of revenge, you have won, not over them, but over yourself. Epictetus once taught, "It is not things themselves that disturb people, but their judgments about things. Therefore, to change your life, you don't necessarily have to change your circumstances. We only need to change your perspective. A negative mind turns every opportunity into an obstacle. A grateful mind turns every obstacle into an opportunity." The Stoics did not run from suffering. They faced it as part of nature, because they knew every pain is an invitation to grow stronger. As Seneca wrote, "The gods test those they intend to instruct." When we realize that true strength does not lie in power, wealth, or circumstance, but in the ability to master our own mind, we begin to step into the realm of inner freedom. That freedom is not loud. It is like a candle burning through the night, steady. Even in the wind, no one can take away our inner peace unless we surrender it ourselves. And as the Stoic philosophers reminded us, the mind is the last fortress. Enemies may capture cities, burn houses, seize wealth, but no one can enter that fortress unless we open the gate. Once we have discovered inner strength and learned how to perceive reality, we begin to understand more deeply that in this life, there are things we can control and things we never will, no matter how hard we try. True wisdom begins when we learn to distinguish between the two. After realizing that all suffering and peace arise from the way we perceive the world, a natural question emerges: then where should I place my mind? What belongs to me and what does not? Because if our hearts keep reaching for what lies beyond our grasp, we will spend our whole lives holding on to emptiness. But if we learn to stop right where mastery begins, then in that single moment, we will already have found freedom. The Stoics divided the world into two distinct realms. One realm, within our control. Opinions, desires, actions and choices, and another realm seated beyond our control. Our body, possessions, reputation, status, and the outcomes of our efforts. Epictetus, the great Stoic master who was once a slave, wrote, "Some things are up to us, some things are not." Just 6 words, yet they form a compass for an entire lifetime. We cannot control whether our body avoids illness, but we can control our attitude toward illness. We cannot make someone love us, but we can choose to love without resentment. We cannot prevent our reputation from changing, but we can live true to our conscience. When we understand that boundary, we cease struggling with fate. We learn to release what does not belong to us, and to guard carefully what truly lies within our power. Let us begin with what is closest, our own mind. Within our control lie our opinions, desires, actions, and choices, the 4 pillars of self-mastery. Opinion: how we interpret the world. The wise do not believe their first emotions. They look, observe, and ask, is this truly bad, or do I merely think it is bad? Each time we pause to re-examine our opinion, we train our reason. Desire, the source of all suffering. When we desire what lies beyond our reach, we enslave ourselves to illusion. But when desire is illuminated by understanding, we become free. For a free person is one who wants only what they can control. Action: the bridge between reason and reality. No one can guarantee results, but everyone can choose to act with integrity and diligence. When we act rightly, even in failure, our hearts remain at peace, for we have done our part. Choice: the jewel within the fortress of the soul. Even in chains, we can choose our attitude. When betrayed, we can choose forgiveness. When all is lost, we can still choose to keep our dignity. These are the things that belong to us, and no one can ever take them away. And then there are the things beyond our control: our body, possessions, reputation, and status. They are like wind, clouds, and the turning of the seasons. We may care for the body, but we cannot command time to stop. We may guard our wealth, but we cannot prevent storms or the tides of fortune. We may build a reputation, but we cannot control the world's praise or blame. We may strive for position, but rank is an illusion if the heart is empty. Those who do not understand this will live in constant anxiety, for they have placed their soul in fragile things, and when those things change, their peace collapses with them. The wise are different. They cherish what is given, but do not identify with it. When they gain, they are grateful. When they lose, they smile, because they understand we are only temporary keepers of the universe's gifts. There once lived an old fisherman by the sea. One day a storm came and swept away his small boat. His neighbors ran to him, crying out, "You've lost your livelihood." He looked out at the waves and said softly, "The sea has given me calm for many years. Today it takes back one day. I bear no grudge." A few days later, a merchant shipwreck washed ashore, and within it, he found goods of great value, enough to live his remaining years in comfort. When the neighbors congratulated him, he smiled. "Neither fortune nor misfortune. I simply live with nature." That is the wisdom of one who understands the boundary between control and acceptance. The storm may take away the boat, but it cannot sweep away the serenity of a person who knows who they are. Wisdom does not come from knowing many things, but from knowing what is worth our attention. This world is full of things that do not belong to us. If we cling to them all, our minds grow heavy, like someone carrying stones through the rain. But when we keep only what truly lies within our power, our hearts grow light, clear, and free. Seneca once said, "No man can live contently if he is forever concerned with what lies beyond his control." So, direct your energy where it can bear fruit, into improving yourself, into acting with virtue, into choosing wise responses to each event. As for the rest, let nature do its work. Some fear Stoicism, believing it preaches resignation. But they misunderstand. Acceptance is not the abandonment of effort. It is to act wholeheartedly within your reach and to remain serene with the result. The Stoic is not lazy. They still live, work, love, and contribute. Only with one difference. They do not let outcomes define their worth. If they succeed, they give thanks. If they fail, and they learn. Both are gifts. Acceptance is a quiet form of courage, a strength born of maturity. It says, I do not need to control everything to be at peace. I only need to control myself. Imagine a person as a wall. The wind comes and strikes it. Some walls collapse, others stand firm. The wind does not change. Only the material of the wall does. If that wall is built from the bricks of ambition, fame, and desire, even a gentle breeze will make it crack. But if it is built from the stones of reason, understanding, and gratitude, then even the storm will only make it stronger. That is the strength of one who knows the difference between what can be mastered and what cannot. We often believe that we act for the sake of a goal, but the Stoics teach that what truly matters is not the result, but the quality of the action itself. Sow your seed with all your heart, then let go. Let the sun, wind, and soil do their part. The rest belongs to nature. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "When you do good, do not expect others to notice. Do it as the rose blooms. It does not need praise, yet it still gives fragrance." Letting go of results does not make us indifferent. It makes us free from the chains of expectation. When we no longer depend on what has not yet arrived, we finally live fully in the present. When we understand clearly what lies within our hands and what does not, the turbulence within begins to calm. We no longer fight the river. We learn to swim with it. Wisdom lies in focusing on what we can govern and accepting the rest with reason. The body may age, possessions may fade, reputation may vanish, but if we keep our mind steadfast, we remain free. Free from fear, free from disappointment, free from illusion. And when the mind is at peace, life, even in its turmoil, becomes harmonious, like the breath of the universe itself. When we have grasped the boundary between what can and cannot be controlled, we finally become calm enough to face adversity. For when the storm arrives, what matters is not how strong the wind is, but how firmly we choose to stand. It is not what you endure, but how you endure it that matters. Seneca, as the night deepens and all sounds dissolve into darkness, we begin to hear the faint echo of memories, the pain, the wounds that have not yet healed. Life, somehow, has a peculiar talent. It always finds the softest place in the human soul to touch. No one lives without suffering. Some bear the loss of loved ones. Some endure betrayal, abandonment, or the collapse of faith they once held dear. Some battle silently with illness, loneliness, or a nameless anxiety. Yet amid the darkness, the Stoics remind us of one truth. Pain does not define us. Our response to pain does. A blade not forged in fire will always remain weak metal. Likewise, a soul that has never been tested will never know its true strength. Marcus Aurelius, who ruled an empire through plague, war, and rebellion, wrote in his journal, "Remember, every difficulty is an opportunity to exercise virtue. That is not hollow comfort. It is the insight of one who has seen the true nature of adversity. The world was not created to make us happy. It was created to awaken us. Adversity is a mirror. It reveals the parts of our soul we overlook in times of ease. When life flows smoothly, we imagine ourselves strong. Only when storms arise do we discover how much composure we have truly cultivated. Long ago, two stones lay side by side beside a stream. One was gently caressed by the water, while the other was struck and battered by the current. One day, the battered stone cried to the heavens, "Why do you treat me unfairly? Why must I suffer while the other rests in peace?" The heavens replied, "You complain of the waves that strike you, but you do not see that they are shaping you, making you rounder, brighter, and stronger." As time passed, the untouched stone was covered in mud and dulled, while the battered one shone under the sunlight. So it is with people. Adversity does not destroy us. It polishes us into stronger, truer versions of ourselves. The weak seek to escape reality. The strong learn to transform it within themselves. When you cannot stop the rain, learn to find joy in its sound. When you cannot change others, change the way you see them. When you cannot make fate gentler, learn to make your soul gentler instead. The Stoics called this the art of governing the mind. It is not about forcing yourself to be happy. It is about accepting truth and choosing your response wisely. Epictetus, though once a slave, declared, "You may fetter my leg, but not my will." True freedom does not lie in doing whatever we wish, but in not letting circumstances control how we feel. When we suffer, our instinct is to cry out, "Why me?" But that question brings no answer. It only keeps us trapped longer in our pain. Seneca wrote, "Tears do not ease pain. They only give it a dwelling place within the mind. Every time we resent, we paint the wound darker with the colors of anger and regret. The initial pain may be a wound, but resentment, fury, and sorrow are the hands that reopen it again and again each day. The wise do not deny sadness. They look it in the eye and say, I acknowledge your presence, but I will not let you lead me. That is the beginning of peace. Acceptance is not weakness. It is an act of wisdom, a deliberate surrender to the laws of nature. When the storm arrives, the tree that bends survives, while the one that stubbornly resists breaks in two. Those who understand the way of nature know everything that happens is meant to happen. And if it cannot be changed, then the only thing that must change is our attitude. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "If you cannot change something, let it be as it is, wait, and love it as part of your destiny." The Stoics called this amor fati, the love of fate. Not love because it is pleasant, but love because we understand that it is the very material from which we grow. A young apprentice once asked his master, an old silversmith, "Master, why do you heat the silver until it nearly melts? Isn't that cruel to the metal?" The old man replied, "I do not heat it to destroy, but to purify. When the silver begins to reflect my face, that is when I know it is pure." So it is with life. It uses suffering to refine the soul. When we begin to find peace in the midst of pain, when we can look upon adversity with gratitude, that is when we begin to reflect the face of wisdom. If happiness is the friend who makes us smile, then suffering is the teacher who helps us mature. In the darkness of loss, we learn the value of small and simple things. When we are hurt, we learn to understand others more deeply. When there is nothing left to hold on to, we learn to stand upon the strength within ourselves. Every crack in the heart is where the light of awareness enters. Without suffering, we would never learn compassion. and never truly appreciate peace when it comes. It is not what you endure, but how you endure it that matters. Seneca, this is not cruelty. It is truth spoken by one who understood life. There are two ways to endure. One, with resentment, which hardens and closes the heart. Two, with awareness, which softens and deepens it. When we endure with gratitude, pain ceases to be an enemy and becomes a companion guiding us towards self-understanding. Sometimes pain needs no explanation, it only needs to be accepted and allowed to pass. Like the rain, it comes without asking and leaves without farewell. After every storm, the sky is never quite the same, yet clearer because of it. So it is with the human soul. Pain does not make us lose ourselves. It makes us more real. When we understand that suffering is a natural part of being human, we cannot avoid it, only choose how to face it. And that attitude is the only thing under our control. Then we have taken a great step toward peace. Lament and blame only carry us further away from ourselves. But acceptance, not in words, but in the quiet of the heart, brings us back into harmony with the flow of the universe. At that moment, suffering ceases to be a burden and becomes a gentle teacher, offering life's greatest lesson. Peace does not come when the storm passes, but when we learn to stand still within it. After learning to stand firm amid suffering, the human soul becomes more mature, more open, and then we begin to realize something deeper. To live with reason, love, and responsibility, that is the path of fulfilling our human duty in a world of constant change. Wherever there is a human being, there is an opportunity for kindness. Marcus Aurelius, once we have learned to stand firm through adversity and to see suffering without blindness, another door opens, the door to compassion. For Stoic philosophy does not teach us to live isolated or cold. On the contrary, it teaches us to live among others without losing our goodness, to remain in the world without losing our humanity. True peace does not come from escaping the world, but from the ability to remain within it while keeping the soul serene. The Stoics saw reason as the most sacred gift bestowed upon humanity by the divine. Through reason, we can distinguish right from wrong, truth from illusion, what is necessary from what is not. If emotion is the sea, then reason is the lighthouse. It does not still the waves, but it keeps the ship from losing its way. Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations, "Let reason guide you as breath guides the body." When the mind is clear, you will no longer be driven by anger or fear. A rational person is not unfeeling. They still sense deeply, but are not swept away. They still love, but do not lose themselves in love. They still grieve, but do not let grief turn to hatred. Reason, in Stoic philosophy, does not oppose emotion. It leads it toward clarity. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself each morning, "Today I shall meet people who are ungrateful, arrogant, deceitful, envious, and selfish. Yet I will not be angry with them, for they act so out of ignorance of what is good." Marcus Aurelius. Meditations. Those words are not merely about forgiveness. They are a way of preparing the mind. For one who understands life does not expect the world to be perfect. They simply learn to adjust their heart so that the world cannot wound it. Try beginning each day with that awareness, that everyone around you is struggling with unseen pain, that the rude are not necessarily wicked, and that your peace should not depend on the moods of others. A mind prepared in this way will not be easily shaken. Like someone who has already put on a raincoat, they do not fear the sudden storm. Seneca once wrote, No man becomes good merely by thinking about goodness. He must act it in the smallest of deeds. Stoic philosophy is not a doctrine of lofty words, but a philosophy for daily life, where every glance, every word, every act is a chance to live with virtue. Wherever there is a human being, there is an opportunity for kindness. Even among the rude, we can still speak gently. Among the ungrateful, we can still do good without expecting return. For kindness needs no reason. It is the natural expression of a soul illuminated by wisdom. A traveler once passed through a poor village. It was raining. The road was muddy. Everyone hurried by. Only a small child stood shivering by the roadside, holding a wet puppy in his arms. The traveler stopped, took off his coat, and wrapped it around the child. No words of thanks, no recognition, just a small act of care. Years later, when the traveler died, people found a line in his journal about that day. Today, I had the chance to be kind, that was all. Yet enough for his soul to rest in peace. For sometimes, the meaning of life does not lie in grand deeds, but in how we treat the small and fragile lives around us. Responsibility is not a burden. It is the honor of one who understands they are part of the world. The Stoics believed that every human being exists to serve the harmony of the universe, like cells in the same body, each with its role. And when we fulfill that role, we live in accordance with nature. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "What is good for the hive is good for the bee." To live responsibly is to live with awareness that our actions ripple through the whole. When we speak kindly, the world softens. When we forgive, a shadow lifts from the hearts of others. And when we act for the common good, our own soul expands in the process. There is a mistake many make. They think Stoicism is the path of coldness, of steel discipline and indifference, but it is not. At its deepest core lies love, not impulsive or loud, but steadfast, like the roots of an ancient tree. Seneca, in a letter to his friend, wrote, "No one can be happy who has turned away from love, for the soul is not born for solitude. The Stoic does not love with blind passion, but with understanding, knowing that all beings share the same breath, that to wound another is to wound oneself. Love, in Stoic philosophy, is not a word, but a state of consciousness. A loving soul is one that has transcended fear, for only when we no longer fear being hurt do we truly know how to love. Imagine walking out one morning and encountering a person who pushes past you, a rude driver, or an ungrateful colleague. Instead of reacting, pause and recall Marcus Aurelius. They act not to harm you, but because they do not yet know what is good. In that moment, your heart softens, not because you are weak, but because you have touched true strength, the strength of compassion. A man may win 100 battles on the field, but the one who conquers himself is greater still. And that victory begins the moment you face the one who hurts you with calmness, without hatred. Reason without compassion makes us cold. Compassion without reason makes us fragile. Together they form the two wings that lift the soul toward freedom. Reason keeps us from drowning in emotion. Compassion keeps us from turning to stone. And when the two merge, we become truly alive, or to being unbound by hatred, untouched by fear. The strong are not those who speak the loudest, but those who can remain gentle amid a chaotic world. Those who understand reason do not use it to prove themselves right, but to know when to be silent, when to forgive, and when to smile. Love and compassion do not make us weak. They make us quietly great. For only through love do we understand the true essence of Stoic philosophy. To live according to nature is to live in harmony with both reason and compassion. When we have learned to live with reason, to love, and to carry responsibility, we ascend one step higher on the inner path, toward the value of philosophy and disciplined practice. For wisdom does not come from a single moment of enlightenment, but from patient repetition, from steady practice, until the soul becomes calm and luminous. After one learns to live with reason, love, and responsibility, the final door of spiritual maturity opens. The door of philosophy. Not the kind that lives only on paper or in ancient books, but a philosophy that breathes, that lives, and that soothes the human mind. Philosophy, and in its truest sense, is the art of living in harmony with the best version of oneself. People often turn to philosophy in times of suffering, when the world outside becomes too loud and one must turn inward to find shelter. Seneca once said, "Just as medicine heals the body, philosophy heals the soul, and the soul's illnesses have always been the same. Fear, desire, and illusion. Fear makes us run from ourselves. Desire robs us of peace. Illusion convinces us that happiness lies somewhere outside. Philosophy does not promise to erase all pain, but it teaches us to face pain with open eyes and a calm heart. It is the small lamp lit in the dark, not bright enough to banish the night, but enough to light the path ahead, and gradually, that light helps us see. Darkness is nothing more than the temporary absence of understanding. No one becomes wise merely by listening or reading. Wisdom, like peace, is the fruit of practice. The Stoics saw life as a gymnasium of the mind. Every event is an exercise, every challenge a form of training. Each morning, Marcus Aurelius wrote to himself, "Today I shall meet people who are ungrateful, selfish, and ignorant, but I must not let them rob me of my own goodness." He did not write to instruct others. He wrote to discipline his own mind. That is self-discipline, a quiet but enduring strength, where one does not battle the world, but wrestles with one's own weakness. No one is born patient, just as no sword shines before it has passed through fire. Peace is not a gift of fate, it is the reward of daily practice. When we choose silence instead of reaction, we are practicing calm. When we keep walking despite fatigue, we are practicing perseverance. When we give thanks amid hardship, we are cultivating wisdom of the soul. Every small act, done with awareness, is a brick in the temple of inner peace. Seneca wrote, "No man becomes wise by chance. Virtue is the result of will and constant practice." Some fear the word discipline. They think it means restriction, rigidity, or punishment. But to the Stoics, discipline is love in its most dignified form. When we discipline ourselves, we are not punishing the soul. We are protecting it from chaos. Discipline keeps us from being dragged by habit, desire, and distraction. It is the wall that guards the garden of the mind. The undisciplined person lets the river of life carry them away. The disciplined one steers their own boat, and only when we master ourselves do we truly become free. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Men act as if they will live forever, yet forget that each passing day brings them closer to death. Time is the most honest mirror. It strips away all that is superficial, fame, position, and praise, and leaves only what is real, virtue, understanding, and kindness." The Stoic does not fear death. They fear wasting life in sleepwalking. Thus they practice living each day as a complete life. Upon waking, they give thanks for the breath they still draw. When working, they act as though the task were the last they might ever do. When loving, they do not delay. Seneca said, "It is not that we have too little time, but that we waste much of it." Time does not take away youth. It only takes away illusion. And in exchange, it gives us wisdom. Self-awareness is the beginning of all discipline. One cannot correct what one does not see. Each evening, Seneca would sit quietly and ask himself, how have I lived today? What emotions guided me? What actions brought me shame? This was not self-condemnation, it was self-illumination. The light of philosophy does not come from outside. It begins with honesty toward oneself when we dare to look straight into the darker corners of our soul. That is when the journey toward light truly begins. People often chase after what is fleeting, a momentary fame, a temporary success, a passing word of praise, but these things sooner or later will all be erased by time. Those who truly understand philosophy know how to center their lives around what is eternal: character, virtue, and wisdom, the things that no one can ever take away. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "All that you see will soon perish. Let your mind hold fast to that which cannot be destroyed, virtue." When we recognize what is fleeting, we stop wasting energy on competition, comparison, and resentment. We live more simply, more deeply, and more meaningfully. Philosophy does not make us cold. It teaches us to understand and love the world through the eyes of clarity. It teaches us not to chase happiness, but to become the kind of person who can create happiness in any circumstance. The Stoic does not turn to philosophy to withdraw from life, but to live more fully within it. They walk through markets, cities, and courts, yet carry within them a quiet space of stillness, where reason, love, and understanding meet. At its deepest level, philosophy is the art of turning each moment of life into a lesson in awareness. No one can give us peace. No one can grant us wisdom. They come only to those who train themselves, day by day, in silence. Philosophy is medicine for the soul, but it only works when the soul is ready to take it. Each morning we live with a little more reason. Each night we look inward a little more honestly. That is philosophy at work, washing the soul free from fear, desire, and illusion, and one day, when the mind grows still, we realize that in this restless world, the only thing worth mastering is ourselves. When one has understood the value of philosophy and discipline, and learned to live with reason, love, and responsibility, the final reward they receive is freedom. Not the freedom of the body, but the freedom of the mind, where one is no longer bound by fear or desire. Everything can be taken from a man, but one thing, the last of the human freedoms: choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances. Viktor E. Frankl's The Stoic Journey reaches its end. We realize everything discussed, understanding human nature, training the mind, facing suffering, living with reason, love, and virtue, all point to a single destination: freedom. Not the kind of freedom the world celebrates, the right to do whatever one wants, but freedom from the tyranny of external things. Freedom does not lie in where we can go, what we can do, or how much we possess. It lies in this: nothing outside of us can disturb the peace within. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "When a man realizes that no one can harm him but himself, that is when he becomes truly free." Each of us lives under countless pressures: work, reputation, relationships, desires, fears. But if we look closely, we will see no external pressure can truly hurt us unless we give it permission to. Some lose everything and collapse. Others lose everything and still smile. The difference lies within, in the one who masters the mind. Freedom is not the absence of constraint. It is knowing how to remain unbound while living among constraints. Like a bird in a cage that can still sing. For true freedom lives not in the bars around it, but in the wings of the soul. In Stoic philosophy, the mind is a sacred fortress. Enemies may break through walls, take possessions, titles, even the body, but they can never capture the mind of one who knows how to defend it. Epictetus. Once a slave proved this truth through his own life. He possessed no property, no bodily freedom, yet he held absolute freedom of thought. He said, "You may fetter my leg, but you will never fetter my will." To the Stoic, freedom means full sovereignty over the inner life. No one can make us suffer unless we consent. No circumstance can take our peace if we keep it safe in the quiet of the heart. Life will always bring us unexpected trials, loss, failure, misunderstanding, illness, betrayal. Yet within every trial lies a small, sacred space, the space of choice. We cannot choose what happens, but we can choose how we respond. That is our final freedom. And the measure of our soul, a clear mind pauses amid emotion, looks calmly at reality, and says, "I choose not to let the world decide how I feel." In that moment, the human being rises above fate itself. Freedom is not doing whatever we please. It is taking responsibility for all that we choose. The immature say, "I have rights." The mature say, "I have responsibilities." Responsibility for our words, our actions, our emotions, and the way we show up in the world. That is the kind of freedom that endures. A freedom that needs no permission and can never be taken away. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Man's freedom lies in his harmony of reason with nature." When we live in accordance with the laws of nature, neither grasping for what is beyond our reach, nor resisting what is inevitable, nor resenting what has passed, we live in the highest form of freedom, the freedom of acceptance. Fear is the mark of a slave. He who fears loss is enslaved by possessions. He who fears criticism is enslaved by the opinions of others. He who fears loneliness is enslaved by the presence of others to feel whole. But the truly free person fears nothing, for they know that no one can take away what is essential to their being. They may lose position, but never dignity. They may lose love, but never the capacity to love. They may lose all that is external, yet never lose themselves. That is the power of one who has learned the art of letting go. One day, a student of Epictetus accidentally broke the philosopher's favorite cup. Ashamed, the student bowed and apologized. Epictetus smiled and said, "I knew it would break, for everything created carries within it the seed of its own loss." The student looked up, puzzled. Epictetus continued, "What is unfortunate is not that the cup has broken, but that your mind forgot it was capable of accepting the break. Freedom does not come from holding on to everything, but from letting go without losing peace. In youth, we wish to change the world. With understanding, we realize to change ourselves is the only way to change the world. The Stoic does not seek to rule over all things, only to rule over themselves. And when they succeed, everything else falls naturally into harmony. Like a lake, when its waters are calm, it mirrors the sky perfectly. But when disturbed, even the clearest sky appears distorted. When the mind is still, the world is still. Thus, to master the mind is to master life. And now, as the night fully descends, we have walked a long journey, from understanding human nature to training the mind, learning to love, to endure, and to accept. We have learned that no one can control circumstances, but everyone can master themselves. True freedom is not the ability to do whatever we wish, but the ability to remain unshaken by what happens around us When the mind is calm, everything outside becomes light. When reason is clear, every turmoil becomes a lesson. And when compassion grows large enough, life, even in its imperfection, becomes worth living. Life does not ask whether you are happy, but whether you live with responsibility, understanding, and love. In a world where everything can change, only an awakened mind is a permanent refuge. Nourish it with knowledge, train it with patience, expand it with love. And tonight, as you close your eyes, remember, you do not need to control the universe. You only need to control one thing the way you see it. When you can do that, no matter how the world turns, your heart will remain still, like a drop of dew in the morning light, where every night is a journey inward, where philosophy meets sleep and the soul rediscovers its natural state of peace.